Welcome to the Learn Piano in Your Car podcast. This is episode 49. Today we are looking at the bass clef behind me here. It looks like the handle of a teacup. Some people think it looks like half a love heart. That's my children when I teach children. They like to think of that as half a love heart. When you draw the bass clef, remember the two dots go in the two spaces at the top. When you also draw the bass clef, it should finish between the two lines in the middle of the space at the bottom. The bass clef covers the bottom half of the keyboard. The treble clef covers the top, but we're not looking at that today. We're looking at this. So, if you look over here, I have drawn roughly a piano keyboard. Middle C is here. This part from G up to middle C is the part we're looking at today. These notes are all covered by the bass clef. If you look here, you can see. If you're actually learning in the car, let me describe what we're looking at. We're looking at the stave. The stave is the 5 lines. These are parallel lines, evenly spaced, with the bass clef at the beginning. The bass clef starts with a little ball, basically when you're drawing it, on the F line, which is the second line from the top of the stave. To remember the notes and to be able to quickly identify them, I think of it as a few steps in a process. So let's take a little look. So the lines, the 5 lines starting at the bottom, the first one is G, then B, then D, then F, then A. If we go back to the keyboard over here, so now you're imagining a keyboard in your mind if you're driving in your car. Look at middle C. The top line of the stave A is here. So we're descending now. We're going back down from the top line to the bottom line. A, F, D, B, G. And go back to the stave. Right. But how do you remember that? Surely it's going to take ages to memorise all this. The treble clef as well, all of these notes. How do we do that? So what I suggest you do, think about it like this. Good boys deserve fine apples. Good boys deserve fine apples. You memorise that. These are the notes that are on the lines, the 5 lines of the bass clef stave. The notes in the spaces between the 2 lines, there are 4, A, C, E, G, and then B at the top. So this line is G, this space before it would be F, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then this is middle C. And then we go on to the treble clef. So to remember the spaces, A, all cows eat grass. Now these are just 2 short phrases for you to recall. If you remember them, then when you look at the bass clef, the thought process is this. So, for example, the note that would be in here, your thought process goes, is that a line or a space? Question yourself. It's a space. It's a space, so we're applying all cows eat grass. All cows eat grass. So that is C. The second space in the bass clef from the bottom to the top is C. The first space is A, then C, then E, then G. And if you take another look back at the keyboard, you're then processing that information. If middle C is your guide, your sort of your North Star, if you like, and middle C is here in the bass clef on a ledger line above the bass clef, then it figures all of the notes on the bass clef stave are below middle C. If you see what you say, what you see, it's a bit like catchphrase. Say what you see. It's also a bit of a tongue tie for me. Middle C is on the ledger line above the stave. Are these notes higher or lower than C? Just say what you see. They're lower. These notes on the treble clef are higher. These notes are lower. So all of the notes on the bass clef stave will be beneath middle C on the actual keyboard. The spaces on the bass clef, therefore, are A, C, E, G. Down here, these are beneath middle C. So the G in the top space of the bass clef is the closest G beneath C. Right, before you do all that, obviously, you need to be able to recognise the notes on your piano. So this is podcast 49. Way back in the beginning, I talked you through how to recognise the notes. And it's not by putting stickers on. Don't do that. I think that's enough. So, tomorrow we'll have a look at the treble clef. It's the same principle. Whatever clef you're looking at, the first thing you should ask yourself is the note on a line or in a space? And then once you've shone that light on, everything else becomes clear, because if it's on a line, it's good boys deserve fine apples from the bottom to the top. If it's in a space, it's all cows eat grass from the bottom to the top. But it does take time, and it's a process you have to teach your brain. You're training the pathways in your brain, I believe. A great thing for you now to do would be go and get an app. The two apps that I use most are Music Tutor, which is for iPhones, or Clefs, C-L-E-F-S, which is for Android. And play the games on these. They give you thousands of opportunities to put this into practice, and that's what you need to do. You need to reinforce this. If you like playing games on your phone, why not play games on these two apps? Then you're actually learning something as well. That's what I do. And I mean, I've been learning piano, started to learn when I was 7. I've been teaching piano for nearly 30 years, and I still don't see anything wrong when I'm sitting on a plane playing these games and just trying to beat my personal best. That's how to win. That's how to get better, by repetition and consistency. And as an adult learner, the more often you do something, regularity is important. The more often you do something and the more regularly you do it, the quicker you're going to embed that into your head. I don't have to think about these things now. And after a while of playing with the apps, what happens is you stop thinking about it and you just see a note and you recognise it, and that's what you're aiming for. But taking it a step further, you see a note, recognise it, and be able to play it on the piano. It's a kind of 3-step process. What your eye sees, what your brain processes, and what your fingers do. And you're trying to speed all that up. That's the bit that takes the time when you're learning to read. Anybody can read sheet music, and anybody can play those games on the apps. The harder thing is to actually make your fingers play what your eyes are seeing. And then you're into practicing your technique with exercises and scales and arpeggios and a whole other ballgame. But this is a clear path and keeping you on track. If you follow my advice and you think, first of all, question, is the note on a line or in a space? And then you apply the relevant G, B, D, F, A, or all Keswick grass for the spaces for the bass clef. And tomorrow we'll look at treble. Okay, send me any questions, info@themusicroom.org.uk. I'm Carol Brotherston, the founder of Perfect Piano Academy. You can check the academy out if you like. I'd love to welcome some of you into there. That is where true transformation happens. You're never left alone in the academy. I am your coach. You're accountable and you're on track because I won't let you get off track. Check the academy out, www.perfectpiano.org.uk. Have the best day. It is actually Friday when I'm recording this, and Friday blessings and good wishes to all of you.